Meanwhile, the FBI deputy director faces tough questioning from Republican senators on what the agency has done to investigate an alleged bribery scheme involving the Biden family.
That's right. Our congressional correspondent Kilmeny Dukart has those details from Capitol Hill. Kilmeny.
Katrina, Bob, good to be with you. The FBI has maintained that it wants to protect this confidential human source that disclosed $5 million payouts to both Joe Biden when he was vice president and his son Hunter Biden when he was on the board of a Ukrainian gas company. The FBI still refuses to make that document public. So we've learned from lawmakers that the individual is a Burisma executive who apparently kept audio conversations with both Bidens as an insurance policy. But on Tuesday, Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn demanded to know why the agency won't disclose those details. Here's her exchange with the FBI's deputy director.
You chose to redact it, yes or no?
We often redact documents to protect
So you chose to
methods.
redact the fact that there are 17 voice recordings, 2 of those with the now president. You chose to redact that and not to give that to House oversight.
I have
Is
no
that
idea
accurate?
if there are voice recordings or not. What I will tell you with respect to the
You have
document,
no-
the document was redacted to protect the source, as everyone knows.
During Tuesday's Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Texas Senator Ted Cruz also growing frustrated with the lack of transparency.
Did you investigate in any way, shape, or form these allegations?
Senator, once again, I'm not going to comment.
So
on
you're not going to
investigative.
say whether you did your job?
We do our job to the very best of our ability.
Well, not here. You're not answering a single question to the American people. And you may think this is esoteric. I promise you, millions of Americans are concerned. You know who isn't concerned? Not a single Senate Democrat. We're going to go through this whole hearing. Not one Democrat will ask a question about this. You know who else isn't concerned? The corporate media, who is joining with the Democrats in covering up this evidence.
Bob and Katrina, it's been confirmed to Newsmax that these audio recordings do exist, but the FBI has declined to say whether they have them in their possession. In the meantime, the House Oversight Committee continues to vow to follow the money till there's a full and complete picture from this investigation. In the meantime, you have some within the GOP already saying that if these allegations turn out to be true, this could be grounds for impeachment.
All right, Kilmeny, thank you very much. Here with his thoughts, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, your thoughts here to this report.
Well, first of all, let's clarify this. What the FBI had was a report from a confidential human source who had obtained information from a top executive of the oil company, Ukrainian oil company, Burisma. That individual, that executive, apparently told this source about this scheme, this bribery scheme to pay the Bidens in total $10 million, and that executive told the source that he had made phone conversations. He recorded 15 times with Hunter Biden, twice with Joe Biden. I'm not aware that we have verified that those recordings exist. What we do know is the FBI has interfered. They interfered in Senator Grassley's and my investigation of Hunter Biden. Here's the latest example where Senator Grassley knew that those recordings were revealed in that 1023 form. And then when the FBI finally gave in to James Comer to provide the 1023 form to House members, for some reason they redacted that fact that there were these supposed recordings. Why would they do that? Now, I understand where the entire 1023 form might put at risk individuals that are providing that kind of information. I understand the sensitivity of those types of investigation disclosures. But once that's disclosed, what additional danger does it create by letting people know this part of that form talked about 17 audio tapes? I mean, the only explanation I have is the FBI continues to cover up for the Bidens, as they have been doing since at least December 2019 when they took possession of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah, Senator, let me throw this out there, just thinking this through. What if they're concerned about it not being true that there are tapes, but that this Burisma official said there were tapes as an insurance policy, the way it's described? Now, the insurance policy would be to protect him, assuming it's a him, hey, we made this agreement. Here are the tapes. Remember, we were doing this or showing them, but that the FBI is not sure that the tapes exist.
Right. Again, that's all speculative. I think the question is, what did the FBI do to follow up on this confidential human sources allegation? And, they're just not being forthright with Congress in terms of telling us what they did do. And you have to ask yourself, why not? Now, obviously, the FBI whistleblower, I think it's pretty obvious, came forward to Senator Grassley because he wasn't satisfied with what the FBI did with that information, which is why he made that 1023 form available to Senator Grassley. So, again, we've got an FBI whistleblower that obviously wasn't satisfied with the investigatory actions of the FBI. And now we have the FBI continuing to cover up and not being forthright with Congress. We have legitimate and constitutional oversight authority. We also have investigatory authority as well. We should have access to these types of investigatory materials, but the FBI is just hiding the ball on us.
Senator, I also wanted to turn to this. You have called the FBI investigation and the Justice Department's prosecution of former President Donald Trump interference in the 2024 presidential election. Elaborate on that for us.
Well, again, we know back in 2016 that President Obama and Vice President Biden was briefed by John Brennan that they had intel that the Hillary Clinton campaign was going to make up a story about Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. This is in August of 2016. They knew the Steele dossier was the source of that was an individual they were investigating as a Russian spy, and yet they didn't disclose this. They based their entire investigation, plus the Mueller special counsel, on the Steele dossier that they knew was tainted. And so they interviewed in 2016. We know that they helped cover up the Hunter Biden laptop. We went to them. We were offered that laptop the day after our report dropped. We went to the FBI. They didn't tell us anything about it. They slow-walked it until McIsaac got impatient and gave that to Giuliani. And then, of course, it was Anthony Blinken, our current Secretary of State, that engineered that letter from 51 former intelligence officials. That interfered in our election to a far greater extent than anything Russia could do. Now we've got this indictment. This entire thing with President Trump should have been handled civilly through the Presidential Records Act. This should not have been criminalized. We never should have had a SWAT search of Mar-a-Lago. This indictment never should have happened. So here we got, for a third presidential election in a row, we have federal law enforcement interfering in this election. And I don't see how anybody can take a look at this and not realize that whether you agree with the investigation or not, or the indictment, this is going to interfere dramatically in the 2024 election.
All right, Senator Ron Johnson, thank you for joining us.
Have a good day.